back to Channel KRT and welcome to week 2 of Barney Month.
Help me.
Welcome back to No Escape November. Oh man.
No Escape November, the month of No Escape, whatever we're calling it at this point.
This episode of Barney in the Backyard Gang is sponsored by Manscaped.
We shall see what sponsors Barney's World on Max when that comes out, so... Barney Month keeps on trucking along with week 2, and we are talking today about Barney's Once Upon a Time. I'm Rumpelstiltskin.
I'm Randallston. I stole your joke because I just thought of that while
Damn it, Randall!
Hey, I'm the one who thought of it, so I can do it as much as I want.
And I'm Carrie Stinson. No, just kidding. This is Tyler Green. Let's bring in our guest today. We have a very special guest. You know him as an admin of the Barney History Fans Facebook group, and you know him as the host of the Spots of Love podcast, where he interviews both fans of Barney and people who have worked on the show alike. Please welcome to the show, Kerron Stark.
Woo!
Kerron Deluxe.
And our first guest who's actually been on Purple Roads.
I've been on there 3 times.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Yes.
So, as Kit mentioned, we are talking about the 1996 tape, Barney's Once Upon a Time, which is one that I have a lot of nostalgia for. I'll get in my history with it in a second, but, I do want to ask you, Kerron, because you, as we all know, are a Barney super fan. What is your relationship with the show?
My brother is a year older than me, born in 92, so he was watching Barney when it first aired on PBS. And so it was passed down to me. I was born in 93. And so I watched it from 93 all the way until it went off the air. I lived with my grandma in her home daycare. So there was always a new toddler generation of kids that was watching Barney on PBS. So I never grew out of the show because I was always around it and always around kids. So it's just been in my life since I was born. At 14, I bought my own Barney costume and used to do free mall birthday appearances, parades, and things like that.
That is actually really cool, yeah.
I do my own show, and with my own show, I've been able to be on, like you mentioned, Carrie Stinson's podcast 3 times. I've had Bob Singleton, one of the original music directors, do some music for us on our show.
Wow.
Steve White this year wrote a new song for us.
Oh, wow.
Wow, holy shit.
Gotten some advice from Fred Holmes, who was one of the directors of the show. So I've been able to connect with people that were instrumental in my life by way of Barney, and now get to have them do some work with us. And I feel like I'm putting the Infinity Stones together, getting all the classic people back to like the song that Steve White wrote for us. He wrote it and Bob Singleton created the music for it. It's the first song they've done since 2000.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Damn.
I had love for Barney growing up, but now I have more love for it and respect because I do my own show and I get to see the work that went in behind the scenes to make what we saw on the screen and how that impacted children just as much as the people who were on the screen. And so I just have a deep respect for it for those reasons.
Hard agree, especially learning about the Purple Roads podcast. I know we've gone into our history with Barney before, but, being neurodivergent and everything, I've always kind of clung to, the stuff I grew up in childhood, and Barney was no exception for some reason.
Me too.
Yep.
Even during the hate watch wink wink phase, I still had an immense respect for it.
Absolutely. And learning about how the crew and cast all worked on the show, kind of learning how everything all came together, it's really neat. It's been really cool learning that it really was a great environment for everybody involved. And it's especially great to hear because I know that sometimes the settings of a lot of kid shows isn't always the safest, as we've learned this year, but thankfully Barney seems to be one of the big exceptions.
That's one of my favorite things about it. Talking to cast and crew on my podcast that I do, you always hear every show, everyone's always oh, we were like a family, or it was great. And there's always something you find later where it's no, you weren't. But with Barney, it's legit. When I was in Texas this year, I was invited to the old publishing department's reunion that they do every year. And so I was surrounded by 25 people who worked in the publishing department for Barney before it got sold to Hit. And they literally are all like a family. They all love and respect each other just as much as their stories say, just as much as it shows on screen. And I think that's what's so great about Barney too. He's so easy to talk trash on because of just the perfect image of who the character is, right? And there's no negativity and no scandals, but there literally isn't. Everyone actually respected each other, and I think that just makes it even more iconic to me.
Absolutely.
He's kind of like Weird Al Yankovic in a way, where His track record is so clean, you literally have to make shit up about him.
Yeah, exactly.
I know he didn't actually hide drugs in his tail, but I want to believe it because it's so much fun.
Yeah. Like it's those kind of stories where like, yeah, like people would believe it because it's like, well, of course it did. It was a children's show that he had a tail, like, but yeah, those things didn't even happen.
And speaking of beloved figures, this is also our very, very belated tribute to the late, very great Phyllis Cicero.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
So getting into Barney's Once Upon a Time, even before we were talking about doing this theme month, I wanted to do this special solely so we could talk about Stella the Storyteller. She is a fucking icon.
I love her so much. She might be my favorite character.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
The character of Stella the Storyteller, for those who don't know, she's basically sort of like this storyteller character, obviously, who would travel the world, and she would always, greet the characters in different languages, which we see in this, and she would bring along stories from, different countries and stuff like that. Like, she would bring stories from Norway, she would bring stories from Mexico, and she would bring stories from Japan. And she was played by, the late, great Phyllis Cicero, who we sadly lost, and may she rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Revisiting this special again, I understand full well why we love her so much, because she really has sort of like this teacher / mother-like quality to her performance and how great she is with the children. Funny enough, thinking about that, it reminded me of the fact that we have a friend who is going to be joining us on the next episode that we, occasionally stream Barney and Friends with. And whenever Stella would come on the show, we had this name for her, Story Mom. I think is a perfect name for it, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
I loved it because it's like you had this awesome story mom, soothing voice and everything, and then in comes a little super duper to remind you just what you're watching. By the way, this is still Barney.
Her segments always in a way reminded me of Reading Rainbow, but with a travel segment, so it was always really cool.
She also kind of has like this sort of Time Lord energy to her, because she travels through that door, which is basically like a TARDIS in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. She's the 16th Doctor. Changed my mind.
I mean, the Doctor shouldn't be American, but, I'll make an exception. So as for you guys, how familiar are you with this tape?
Not at all.
So I think this is one of the ones that I grew up with. Most of my nostalgia goes for the later Barney specials in the 90s. So a lot of my favorites include Barney's Big Surprise, obviously, Barney's Fun and Games. I really like Barney Let's Play School, Night Before Christmas. So this one I do vaguely remember being within the tapes I'd rewatch a lot, but there was a lot that I had forgotten about it too, so it was really nice to revisit it. And yeah, it's a really good special, honestly. Like season 3, the late 90s era of Barney is probably my favorite era of the shows. It was where the production values kind of increased a lot. They had more of an idea of what they wanted to be by then, and that's where we got a lot of the key elements of the show as well. And so, yeah.
At this point, this is where the show starts to transition into the Barney that we know and love, where it's kind of hitting its peak. The original, schoolyard set is starting to become a lot bigger and different, because they're, expanding it and they're putting the treehouse in, which, I still love that damn treehouse. That is an amazing set after all these years.
As much as I joke about why is the school able to have a treehouse, that treehouse does slap.
I wish the schools I went to had a treehouse like that. That treehouse is bitchin'.
Were there ever any adults there? Did the kids ever have class, or was their entire school day just fucking around with Barney and then going home?
Well, it was always after school, but yeah.
Oh, that's right.
But in the later, or not the later years, but like seasons 4 through 6, I mean, even season 3, you started to see Mr. Boyd, who was the janitor, and then they would also have the science teacher who would be there sometimes, like leaving the school or things like that. So there were sometimes adults around.
Yeah, Mrs. Kepler, who was in the Barney's Halloween special we did.
Yep.
Who, by the way, looks a lot like Marsha Wallace, I just realized.
She does. Yes.
Oh my god, no escape.
Just keep her away from Full House and it works out.
Don't let her sexually harass Dave Coulier anymore.
So, Kerron, how about you?
I have a super deep respect for Phyllis Cicero as well. I liked this video as a kid. It wasn't my favorite, just because this is their terrible Barney costume that they used for season 3 that I've always hated.
Oh yeah, that costume.
I just don't like it. Like, the mouth is too big. It's just too boxy. I hate it.
It looks very bloated.
And the eyes just look way too dark and it's a little creepy.
Hey kids, it's me, Barney, the bloating drowned corpse.
Hey kids, look at me! I just got stung in the face by several bees today.
I pissed off the mafia.
No, yeah.
I will say that this is the period where, as much as we do clown on them, BJ and Baby Bop are starting to find their footing as characters and in their designs too, because I think this was the season where Baby Bop first had like a moving mouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Her look virtually stayed unchanged for the duration of the show. Unlike everyone else's whose face shapes and things kind of changed over time, hers pretty much stayed the same from season 3 on.
I also feel like this is where Julie Johnson also found her footing with the voice as well, because no disrespect to season 1 through 2 Baby Bop, but the voice was just a little too babyish for my taste. So by season 3, I think that she found the best voice for her.
Well, in season 1 and 2, she was a 2-year-old.
Very true, yeah.
When they first cast her, that's what the goal was it's a baby dinosaur. So, I mean, you could start to see it in season 2 too, but like by season 3, they were writing as if she was a little bit older, but still portraying that she's 3, which was nice.
I mean, she literally does turn 3 in BJ's first episode, and then she stays 3 for the rest of her life.
How old are you? I'm 3. How long have you been 3?
I'm guessing that they just have birthdays every 500 years.
Yeah.
And somehow Barney himself is 200 million years old, which T-Rexes weren't around 200 million years ago, but I digress.
But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to say about this tape?
Oh, no, I'm good, man.
I do want to say that I'm now kind of realizing I have no Barney memories that involve any tapes. They're all exclusively from PBS.
That's valid, yeah.
Thanks a lot, PBS.
PBS, we'll make sure that you can never escape. Going on IMDb, this was actually the very first Barney tape directed by Stephen Feldman, who went on to direct quite a few Barney tapes, including Barney's Halloween Party, so...
I can't wait until, at some point we hear, so yeah, this was directed by so-and-so who went on to direct the Hollywood blockbuster, Oscar winner, art house movie.
So we open up with Sean basically scamming the girls and pretending that he can make magic happen.
I mean, in all fairness, he kind of did at that point. Is it a scam if it's true?
He's basically pulling a Harold Hill here.
Yeah, so Sean has always been one of the Barney kids that always stuck out to me, mainly because, and I don't mean this as an insult, he always kind of registered to me as sort of like a baby ginger Rick Moranis.
Oh yeah, I can see that. He always looked to me like Anthony from It's a Good Life.
Hey Barney, check out this plan I got.
It's good that you turned Barney into a Jack-in-the-Box, Sean. It's good that you changed it.
Honey, I shrunk the dinosaur.
It's good that you erased Baby Bop's mouth and stuck her into a 1930s cartoon. No, really, that is good. Thank you for doing that.
When is Sean gonna grow up to be half of Barnes and Barnes and sing Fish Heads?
What Sean does in the intro to this is that he's talking to the girls and he says that he can make magical stuff happen by saying the words "once upon a time." And helping him with this is another kid, Carlos. And what they do is that they make it look like it rains when Sean says, "Once upon a time, it started to rain." I know this is supposed to be corny, but as soon as the kids started marching out with umbrellas, I just said nope and skipped it.
If once upon a time are magical words, then okay, if I say once upon a time, will all my student debt disappear?
The words "once upon a time" are very magic, kids. It's just when dwarf eggs start popping up that you should be concerned.
Once upon a time, every nuke in the world suddenly went off. Let's see what happens.
Oh, God.
No!
Also, there was some CGI on the rain used on them, which was a choice.
Compared to Come On Over to Barney's House, which we just talked about, that was a breath of fresh air.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It was actually kind of cute the way they did that.
Plus, 90s CGI does have a bit of a charm to it, so...
As long as they don't use mocap.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that when Carlos sets the rain off, quote unquote, one of the kids goes, "We can't play when it's raining," and then they literally proceed to play in the rain.
Yeah.
That's the thing that confuses me, too, is that the kids kind of go through these elaborate song and dance numbers. Do they always have these, literally planned out in advance?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like that Rocco's Modern Life scene. Why were you all singing? We rehearse every Tuesday.
Like just before this in class, they're like, okay, and step, kick, twirl, and oh my god, no, you're supposed to hold the umbrella that way.
You got your umbrella stuck in my ear, Casey.
There's that one Vine where it's like the cheerleaders and 1, 2, 3, Patricia! Keep it together, sweetie. We have a show coming up. Patricia!
Also, I just realized that their Carlos looks eerily similar to the Carlos from Magic School Bus, and they even say Carlos similar to how they say Carlos in that show.
Carlos!
Yeah, it's just him.
Same fucking universe.
He came to life.
Yeah, no, they literally just borrowed some people for the Magic School Bus from this.
Carl's Magic School Bus was just a nuisance.
What Carlos does in this is kind of nuisancey, but it's a wholesome kind, I guess.
Well, to be fair, it's fictional, so.
Carlos in the Magic School Bus is just an asshole.
So when they all come to the realization they see Carlos in the treehouse, I was expecting Barney to go, once upon a time, it started raining Carlos. And then Barney kicks the tree and Carlos just falls from it. He's okay.
Going back to the production values of this era as well, I really like that the painted background looks a lot more, not realistic, but a lot more like a neighborhood. It looks really neat.
It doesn't take me out of it, quite frankly. It's pretty good set design.
Like, there is something kind of cute about how the painted backgrounds look in season 1 and 2, but by then, this is where they kind of got a big feel for the neighborhood.
They're sort of going for this, 1950s production value type thing. And I think it works because you're more focused on the colorful characters rather than the background.
I think it's that. And by season 3, they moved to a bigger studio. So they had a lot more space they had to figure out what to do with. Whereas season 1 and 2, it was a very, very small studio with one wall that they just needed to figure out. This one it kind of wrapped a little bit. So they needed to really do something more elaborate and more detailed than just a simple background like they did in the first 2 seasons.
And so Barney's talking about how we got all kinds of weather. For the first time, we got rain in Texas because Texas is fucking hot, kids.
Seriously, look at those plants outside. They're literally drying up.
Thanks, Ted Cruz, you fucking asshole.
Barney is that one guy you cannot take on vacation anywhere in the South or the West because all he's going to do is bitch about how hot it is.
And then with that, we get introduced to the lovely Story Mom.
Hell yeah.
God bless this wonderful, wonderful woman.
Save us, Story Mom.
She's talking about how she came all the way from Norway.
And no, her arms aren't tired.
And she's like, I just came back from a country without capitalism.
So when she comes in, she talks about how she heard Sean talking about the phrase once upon a time. And, it leads into them talking about, their favorite stories and everything. And then we go into the titular song of this special, and holy shit, you guys.
I love this song.
Yes.
It's always been one of my favorites.
Once upon a time, once upon a time, needs a story to tell, a tale to share, when you hear the words, once upon a time.
I usually skip all the songs, and I couldn't skip this.
I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of the songs in the show, but I gotta say, when they deliver a banger, they deliver, and this is definitely a fucking banger.
I think of all the stuff that has stuck with me the most, in rewatching this absolutely has the most. This song is absolutely beautiful. That chorus is just immensely I don't know who wrote this, but they were on their A game here, and I'm not gonna lie, hearing it again after so long, I teared up.
And it really helps that Bob West and Phyllis Cicero have really amazing singing voices and really deliver on the song.
It was written by David Bernard Wolfe. He was one of the music directors at one point too.
Oh, cool.
He wrote like over 30 songs, and most of the songs he wrote are really, really good songs, this being one of them.
Yeah, this is easily my favorite song in the show, tied with It's Good to Be Home and the song from Camp Wanna Run Around, the Listen to the
Nighttime, yes. Another Barney song as a kid that made me tear up.
I kind of fuck with Mr. Knickerbocker solely on the basis of how stupid and dated it is.
Oh, yes.
It's like, oh, this was so made in the 90s.
And again, it's not the Jimbo version, so...
Mr. Knickerbocker was a traditional, like, children's song. that they just remixed and made a version of their own. I did the same thing with my show, and I had Bob Singleton make the arrangement for it because he hadn't done it since the 90s.
Hold on, let me look it up when that song's a thing, because it is totally written like a cheesy 90s kids rap.
It's different because it first premiered, I think, like in any type of actual media was with We Sing back in like the 80s. The people who made Barney, they rewrote it to make their own kind of version of it. It was far different with We Sing, but you can find a video on YouTube of it. It's still called Mr. Knickerbocker there also.
Funny enough, we actually reviewed the entire We Sing saga a few years back, and I remember that we really did like their version of it as well.
I'll never be clean again.
So I'm looking at the Barney fandom page for Once Upon a Time. Outside of this, it was only actually used in 2 other episodes, both of them in season 8.
They should have used it more. It was used in 1 episode in season 8 in a home video in like 2009, I think.
Oh, wow, okay.
Season 8, it was obviously a new rendition because it hadn't been so long, but it was still like a ballad, kind of like how it is in this movie. By 2009, when they did it, it was more of like an upbeat kind of song, which also was a really good rendition of it too, but it was more upbeat than it was like a lullaby, if you will.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
oh, man.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned that you like listen to the nighttime. That was written by the same guy.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
So that just shows you the kind of songs he wrote for them. Great songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude's got range, I gotta say. Oh my god, yeah.
I definitely also got teary-eyed, maybe because it's due to Phyllis's passing, but it's also just a reminder of, wow, she really was such a magical presence.
She really was, because like I said, her chemistry with the kids is just, you can really feel, the love between the entire cast, A lot of people clown on this show because they see it as soulless. It's easy to see that, but at the same time, watching this, I don't get that argument. I'm sorry.
Most people, I think they forgot that Barney was quite literally made only for 2 and 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like to any competent adult, of course, it seems soulless and stupid and repetitive, but they literally made it that way on purpose for those young kids. And a lot of people tend to forget that this wasn't a children's show like Sesame Street or those other shows that are kind of aged up a little bit more so adults and kids can enjoy it. They literally said, screw adults. We're making this for kids.
This was also long before YouTube Kids and shit like Coco Melon and whatever the fuck the content farms are spewing out. That's real soullessness.
Yeah. I've always never really gotten that argument because Barney is based around imagination. It's like, of course kids would imagine things where it's all mostly fun and games. Like,
That's what I say all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
No kid imagines like their imaginary friend being a boring adult. They're going to talk like them. They're going to want to have fun like them. Like it's going to be everything that they think is fun in the world. It's not ever going to be, I want to be sad today. Let me imagine that I'm sad. Like it's always going to be, I'm happy.
course. And plus, that's not to say there aren't also a lot of good lessons from the show as well. Like, I think this is one of the shows that first taught me, no, you don't have to hide your emotions just because you're a boy. In fact, you should show your emotions, which is really good for kids to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, what did they want Barney to say? Like, shut the fuck up? Pull your big boy pants up and shut up.
Learn to be a man, Tommy.
Boys don't cry. You want to be a man, don't you?
Going back into the special after that song, Stella goes to, her briefcase where she keeps all her stories, and she decides to read some stories to the kids. But of course, she gets stuck pulling some of the stuff out, which we forgot to mention that going back to the whole Time Lord stuff, she has like this Mary Poppins-ish bag, which bigger on the inside.
Also, I love that when all the stuff is spilling out of the bag and flying around the room, nobody's reaction is,
God, bag with rabies.
Wow, you turned the classroom into a community theater prop room. Since the kids see a spinning wheel, as the old adage goes, what goes up must come down. I forget the rest of it, but we're going to talk about Rumpelstiltskin now.
Oh boy.
this time around in the story, they don't have the dad brag about the daughter being able to spin straw into gold, so at least there's that. That doesn't piss me off, but it's like,
The king just kind of decides she can do it. And like kidnaps her and says, hey, I just kind of decided that you can spin straw into gold, and if you don't, then I'm just gonna leave you to starve here.
You will be fed bread and water for the rest of your life, not even a banana. Just
So your only two choices are A, sit here for the rest of your life with only bread and water, or B, spin the gold and marry the guy who threatened to leave you with just bread and water.
yeah,
This sounds like a lose-lose situation all around.
something King Charles joke here.
Were they watching the 1991 Beauty and the Beast when they were writing this? Just curious.
Yes, they were.
And I love the fact that when she does eventually spin the gold, thanks to Rumpelstiltskin, the king basically goes, "Please marry me. I promise if you do, I'll behave like a normal human being."
I mean, that's what they all say.
Like, what was going to happen if she could explain, no, actually, I convinced this guy to spin the straw into gold for me, and I was going to give away our child. Like, how is he going to react to that?
So where's the option where she can just leave?
Also, that straw, once it was spun into gold, looked a lot like twine, so I was like, did it come from the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota?
I love that the girl who's playing the queen kind of goes at one point, "Man, this looks like something that cows would eat." I love that the show is still able to have, like a sense of humor. It's enough to get a laugh out of me, quite frankly. It's not like the world's wittiest writing, but, it's more silly, if anything.
I will say, while Sean did a pretty good job as Rumpelstiltskin, he could have done without the giggle. It was kind of starting to give me a little misophonia.
The voice was wearing on me really quickly.
Here I sit at your spinning wheel, spinning wheel, spinning wheel. Here I sit at your spinning wheel to spin it all into gold now.
Here I am, the spinning wheel, the spinning wheel, the spinning wheel.
Also, I love that when he goes up and is like, I'm gonna take your baby, and she starts crying. He's like, aw, don't cry again.
You kind of suck at being an evil wizard.
The crying is as convincing as that one kid who skinned her knee on the one Barney episode that shows up in our Rift Track streams.
Ow!
Oh, baby, what happened?
I skinned my knee.
Are you all right, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Boo-hoo. 3D Squelton skimmed his knee. Boo-hoo.
We just talked crap about that yesterday.
Oh my god, for real?
Yeah, because we were on season 7, so we were talking trash about how her fall was terrible, how Barney giggled while he tried to check on her. It was a fun conversation.
Me and Kid a couple weeks ago, we were texting about that episode, and, we were just texting about the weirdness that is, how you can bring your baby to the park and have it be harassed by, like, giant, colorful dinosaurs and no one just bats an eye.
The caboose years were weird, man. And so then Barney makes himself the hero in the story, and I love that the way he finds out Rumpelstiltskin's name is that he starts singing it loudly, and it's like, yeah, the queen's gonna lose. I'm gonna give my name, my social security number, my address, my birthday, my mother's maiden name.
He's like in the middle of the woods where no one else should be.
Very true.
What is Barney doing there to begin with?
Oh, he's just looking for his prey.
You ever just open your window and start singing your social security number?
Sometimes.
Hey, everybody! Redacted, 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 redacted.
Also, itchy, scratchy noggin. Where's worker and parasite noggin?
And the narration, they're talking about how, the queen gets a genius plan, and then immediately Barney shows up. I was thinking to myself, okay, what a genius plan. You can get your giant dinosaur guard to bite Rumpelstiltskin's head off and keep your kid.
Or you just go the Muppets Classic Theater route and you check his clothes and find out that he sewed it because he went to day camp.
I was just thinking, this is medieval times. Why don't you just kill him? Just stab him while it's keep guessing his name. He's like, no, that's not my name. Okay, is your name a guy with a knife in his head? No. Well, it is now.
On a less snarky note, I really love the sets that they set up for the story as well. Like, they did a really damn good job with them.
Really does kind of give community theater and sort of like a wholesome, this is just us and our friends just getting together to put on a play kind of vibe.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why I like it so much, quite frankly. It just has like this really serene vibe to it.
The cool thing before they really started pouring like millions of dollars into their productions, like those later movies one of you mentioned earlier, which were still great as well. It's like back then when they were building sets, they were still keeping in mind that all of this is imaginary. The sets and everything would have like kind of that cheap imaginary feel to them more than like this whole fleshed out castle Like it would look like it's kind of like, fake, but still cool looking. And I think that's part of what makes the appeal for it too.
Especially not to shit talk the Caboose era again, but like how in those later seasons when they try to be like, oh, we're going to Europe, and they just cover the park with like fucking Europe.
We talk so much crap about that too on the streams.
It'd be like, it wouldn't be such a big deal if they were pretending to go to those areas, but they're like, no, we're actually visiting those areas. It's like, what?
It is still pretend though, because remember, Barney's not a real being.
Oh yeah, true, but
their budget cuts and stuff that happened in the later years due to them just completely destroying it did not work in their favor at all.
Yeah.
So lazy.
After 2007, you can tell the quality goes vastly downhill.
Yeah, it tanks.
It's kind of the opposite of Fairly Odd Parents. It's like where the new character is actually really likable. It's just that the rest of the show was starting to crumble.
Oh, yeah.
I totally agree. Going back to Rumpelstiltskin, it kind of would have been fucked up if, when the queen is getting ready to like actually guess Rumpelstiltskin's name right, she accidentally fumbles the words and loses the kid. They wouldn't go that far, but
Rumpelstiltskin? Fuck. I'll be taking that. Thank you.
And I will say, at least the baby didn't cry.
Well, what they should have done is have the queen leave the king with her daughter and then just go live on her own. The end.
Also, we forgot to mention, that Barney snitching on Rumpelstiltskin kind of gives the message that eavesdropping is all right as long as it helps you benefit the situation. Sure, why not?
I mean, that's how we got Watergate, so.
We live in the internet era. We're always spying on each other now.
This time around, I was looking a lot at the classroom in this special, and I really like a lot of the background designs in it. Like, I love the scarecrow that's fighting for its life in the background, and I also really love the little animal crafts on the table.
So, Kerron, I'm sure you know this, but how much of this classroom set did they properly reuse for the newer classroom set that they did, like, the season after this?
It was all the same, like at least the outside stuff.
Really?
Like those bricks and everything were the same bricks that you saw with the remodeled version of the classroom.
Holy shit. It looks totally different to me. I don't know if that's because of like the camera angles or what, but
I think it was lighting and all that stuff. Back then, like between season 3 and season 4, there was like a year hiatus or something. So camera quality changed, lighting and all that stuff they were able to upgrade and all of that kind of stuff.
The treehouse did look pretty similar between seasons, but I could tell there were some updates. Like they added a little bit of a bigger porch, and obviously they added in the settings for Miss Etta and for Scooter. So
the treehouse grew substantially by the next season, though, because it was like double the size of what season 3 was. Season 3 looked like it could possibly have been. Obviously, it's much bigger than an actual treehouse could be, but it still looked like, yeah, possibly the parents did build this. Whereas the next one, it was just this extremely immersive treehouse that there's no way it existed in a giant tree. You know what I mean?
Like I theorized, I feel like that treehouse might be imagined by the kids and Barney, but...
And by the way, for as much shit as we give Baby Bop on this show, she will never be as bad as Scooter McNutty. Thank God we do not have to talk about Scooter McNutty. Fuck that asshole.
You guys don't like Scooter?
I mean, I like Miss Etta.
What's your gripe with Scooter and Miss Etta?
Content? I don't know.
See? If anything, the only problem with Scooter and Miss Etta is the fact that when they said, hey, screw the school, let's go to a park, they didn't bring the two things that would exist in a park.
Yeah, no, that didn't make sense. They didn't even come back for that Best of Barney thing that, brought Stella and Mr. Boyd back. And didn't bring Tinkerputt back. Cough, 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 cough.
Yeah.
Do you got COVID or something?
Oh no, just bitterness.
I see. They don't make a test for that.
Did all of you see when they brought Stella back for Best of Barney?
Yeah, I saw that.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Did you guys see how it tied in? That book that she talks about in this movie that she was writing about a special dinosaur, they tied it in to the end of Best of Barney when she came back.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my God. Yes, that's right. That is so sweet. Yeah.
What a great send-off. So after they finish Rumpelstiltskin, it leads to them talking about how I'm so glad I don't actually have a big name like that in real life. And they sing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, which every time I hear that song, I immediately think of that Family Guy line. Well, one of us is going to have to change.
John Jacob Jingleheimer shit.
These poor two people are getting harassed every day by people.
Listen, guys, I know my name is unconventional, but for the love of God, I have a life. Leave me the fuck alone. Like, at least Professor Tinkerbutt takes pride in the fact that his name is silly.
Yes. I like Castle So High just fine before, but I really love how it's done in this special.
Castle so high, up to the sky. I know that I would love to go there. Castle so high, up to the sky. Wouldn't you love to go too?
Me too, yeah.
Feels like they got an orchestra to it and everything. It sounds really good.
It took me a while for me to like properly be sold on Castle So High. I don't know why. I guess in the later seasons I just wasn't a fan of the arrangement of it. In this, the arrangement is like really good. The music department once again is on their A game with this one. And I keep thinking to myself, for some reason, I just really want to hear this in the Super Mario 64 sound font.
Then it leads into them performing Rapunzel, and this is a testament to how likable Phyllis Cicero is. Even playing a witch, she's still just so much fun.
I think you can tell that they started to realize how important her character was, or how great she just was at her character. Because in season 3, she would come in and she would share a story with the puppet characters and then she would leave, which is what her thing has always been. But then they started writing movies for her to be in the whole thing. Or in the later seasons, they would act out her stories, which took significantly longer. So she was around a little bit longer. I think they started to understand how important she was as a character and just started leaning into it more. This movie was the first thing that they gave her an option to do a full length thing other than just be there for one story, and having her play other parts other than just Stella helped out a lot, I think.
I noticed that their version of Rapunzel in this special is eerily very similar to what they would do with Tangled later on, so keep Zachary Levi far away from this movie.
Yeah.
You're just expecting Baby Bop to just smack Sean over the head with a frying pan.
I did get a small laugh out of Baby Bop saying how she was stuck up high and couldn't get down, and Barney repeats that, and she's like, I just said that! And he's like, oh, sorry.
I'm 99% sure this is what introduced me to the concept of the fourth wall being broken as a kid.
I also like they add in an element that having your hair basically climbed upon hurts. Like they have Baby Bop saying, ow, 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 as she's doing so.
I mean, who can blame her? That's what always got me about Rapunzel. It's like her hair is just constantly being used as a ladder. That's just gonna hurt.
Yeah.
How strong is that hair for it not to just pull out?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I can pull my hair out when I'm stressed, like let alone someone just climbing it.
It caused a great amount of pain to Baby Bop. That's all that matters to me.
boo!
Shame on you guys for hating on a toddler.
Thank you. Even though I hate on plenty of children.
So do I.
So we're 2 against 2 for the first time ever on this show.
Fucking finally.
I'll say this about Baby Bop, she's no Caillou.
Oh, absolutely. Caillou is just, if there's any child easy to hate.
Oh, yes, the kid is poor.
The way the shots are framed where, Stella and Sean are climbing up the tower with Baby Bop's hair, it looks like the fucking Batman 1964 segments where they're climbing up and then suddenly someone makes a cameo out of a window. I was expecting them to run into Batman during this. They just give each other a nod.
Cue that clip of Adam West. That's how we did that. Bet you didn't know.
Sean basically breaks in. It's like, it's okay that I'm a stranger. I'm totally here to rescue you, girl who has never met anybody else in her life besides a witch.
He goes up to the tower and just starts singing to her.
Not till this was a dinosaur just hanging out the window.
It's like, oh god, it's a dinosaur, run!
Do your ears hang low? Do they? What? I can't hear you!
And those giant bifocals, you would think they would work as some type of a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Stella, later on, she roasts Sean as the boy because she literally tells him that he needs to get better glasses.
Then also Baby Bop accidentally blows her cover when she's talking with the witch. That's like, you're less hard to carry than my friend. Uh-oh.
Dumbass.
Good job.
Oh, we forgot to mention, too, that he sings Do Your Ears Hang Low, which, that's a choice.
That's her hair, not her ears.
I've never liked that song in any capacity. It's,
The only way I will actually take this song is if it's Rick Mail singing it in bottom, but it's Do Your Balls Hang Low, Do They Wobble To and Throw?
Right, this is it.
Do your balls hang low? Can you swing them to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Do you get a funny feeling when they're hanging from the ceiling? Or you'll never be a sailor if your balls hang low.
And I love how Stella is the witch who just so happens to carry these giant fucking scissors.
Yes. And also, again, it predicts Tangled because they have the witch trick Sean into coming up there and have her with the hair. So I was like, oh god, is Sean gonna get stabbed like Eugene?
I do want to talk about the witch's comeuppance, quote unquote, because maybe it's just me, but this may very well be the darkest moment in Barney history, which doesn't say a lot. It says something. They glue her hair, they trick her into thinking it's baby shampoo, so they rub it in her hair, her hands get stuck, and they just leave her there.
Yeah.
They leave her there to die, basically.
Like, normally when they have villains in these stories, they have the villains basically just cope and seethe while the characters go on and have a happy ending. But no, they just leave her up in the tower.
Sean and Baby Bop technically have blood on their hands. Baby Bop's a cold-blooded killer.
Although I do love that Stella's like, I know, they live happily ever after. Just.
And you've been left for dead.
Also, I swear to God, that glue looked way more like honey, so I was expecting it to turn out to be honey.
Oh, yeah.
If I have one disappointment with this special, I kind of wish it wasn't just 3 stories. It feels like there would be a lot of opportunity to tell a lot of stories that they wanted, but
I get it, but at the same time, 3 stories is just enough to, properly pace it, I think.
Very true.
If they added any more, they would have to either make the movie longer, which isn't ideal for young kids. 45 to 50 minutes is good. Or they would have to really abridge each of the stories. So you would have to cut key things,
It'd be another hour longer, and Barney doesn't need to be 2 hours long,
Not according to those giant YouTube compilations that the Barney page keeps posting.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Oh, just wait till we get the Barney movie and it's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the number 3, we get into the last story of this special, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And I love how Stella and Barney put the most effort into their costumes. Meanwhile, all Baby Bop gets is just the bib that says Baby Bear.
And also they turn her into Gurr into this special because she keeps talking about waffles.
Maybe it's just me, but I feel like the casting in this story was trying to subtly hint that Baby Bop may or may not be the illegitimate daughter of Barney and Stella.
Oh, God.
Human plus T-Rex equals Triceratops?
Also, I love that these people just don't close their damn door when they leave their house. It's like, especially when you live on the mountains, it's like someone's gonna break in.
You should be less worried about someone breaking in and more worried about fucking mountain lions.
It's what is this little white kid doing in the woods, just roaming around?
Uh,
And just eating food that isn't there. It's what is happening?
This is not her first go. She's done this before. Up until this point, nobody's caught her.
No, she's been doing this for a while.
when she sat on the chair and it broke, I was half expecting her to say, splinters! Just run out of there. Papa Bear sleeps on a giant-ass block of wood. It's like, what? Is mattresses just not manly enough?
It's better than a cave floor.
Very true.
Yeah, it's true.
Other thing you could probably riff with the original story as well, but who complains about a chair or bed being too soft?
Yeah, exactly.
I like soft stuff. The softer, the better.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not to the point where it's like quicksand, I guess, but if Mama Bear likes that, that's what she likes, so.
And I also love that Goldilocks doesn't think, if I take a nap in this bed, they're totally not going to come back and find me, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I've never broken into a house where it's I'm just going to sleep now.
You'd be surprised if you Google the home intruders that fell asleep in the house they were intruding. You're gonna get results.
Hey kids, go into the middle of the woods and play with wild bears. What could possibly go wrong?
I actually read a story about a guy. He broke into someone's house and he started making food.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so sweet, we got cup of noodles. Let's go. Oh man, it's too hot. Okay, let me try this one. It's too cold.
I just think that Barney's ass is too big for that small chair.
Absolutely.
You can tell he never sits there.
At this point, you just gotta wonder if Barney's just in it for the pain. The pain helps them feel alive, you know?
I'm a man, kids!
And these are the worst bears. If a bear comes home and you're just in their space, I mean, you're going to be dead eventually.
If I caught someone in my bed that I didn't know sleeping in it, I don't think I'd be going to singing, Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping to them?
Do you know what mother bears do when they find a human in their home while they have a cub with them? It's not pretty.
I mean, you've seen how the Simpsons would have handled this scenario, so...
Oh, that bed was just right. Good.
I love the joke, too, where, Baby Bop freaks out because she's worried a bear's in the house, but she didn't realize that she's supposed to be a bear. And I'm thinking, of course you'd forget you're supposed to be a bear, Baby Bop. You're not dressed like one.
Yeah. Yeah, they just have her as a normal dinosaur. They're like, this is a bear. We just expect you to believe that.
They're really stupid bears because, like, they have the opportunity to see this chick, like, 4 times before they actually see her. Like, they walk in the door and she's right there in the bed. Baby Bop goes directly to her and then turns around and faces the other way. Like,
Boo-hoo! We have horrible object permanence.
Also, I like that what sets Baby Bop isn't, oh, this stranger is sleeping in my bed. It's that she has her fucking blankie. It's like...
She has my fucking blankie! Urge to kill! Rising! And then she just strangles her with the blankie. Keep Baby Bop's kill count going, you know? Give Ella from Daddy's Perfect Little Girl a run for her money. Am I still your perfect little girl, Barney?
Also, I like that it ends with just Goldilocks getting the shit scared out of her and running back to her home, and she probably never left the house again.
Goldilocks learned never to enter a stranger's house ever again, due to the severe agoraphobia she developed from this encounter.
Yet another fairy tale that could have been solved in 5 minutes if they had Ring cameras.
Hooray!
And the bears saw this dumb bitch walk right into their house, and they turned the fuck around and ate her.
Or they learned to close their damn door.
She doesn't taste like waffles!
I got a Ring notification, someone broke in, let me just call the bear cops real quick. And the bear cops ate her.
You know what would have been funny? I was talking to Kid about this earlier, but it would have been a hell of a plot twist if the girl just woke up in the middle of the song, takes her face off, turns out she actually is a bear and Baby Bop was faking it the whole time. And then they just maul her.
Yes.
It's me, you real baby bear.
Yeah!
Someone's been ripping off my life.
So then we cut back to the classroom and they've gotten all the stuff packed up. And then we get the really sweet ending where it turns out she's like, I've been writing a story. And
Yeah,
you've
get
all
that
been
vacation,
in it."
girl.
Although
You earned it.
I was getting big vibes of Barbosa
Love
saying,
Say
you
what
best
you want, but
believe in
Stella
fairy
had
tales.
some
You're in
excellent fucking
one.
fashion sense. We get a reprise of the Once Upon a Time song. Still hits hard. And that's pretty much it. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. Keep the tapes. I love this special.
Yeah, fuck it, keep this one.
Agreed. Although one quick note, then suddenly it begins to rain again, and they're like, wait, who said once upon a time? And then it cuts to the Barney doll, and I'm like, oh god, Barney can control the weather. I'm going to get rid of the crops, kids. You'll all die of starvation this winter.
Who else do you think was behind climate change this whole time?
I knew it.
But yeah, my verdict as well, keep the tapes. It's maybe not my favorite Barney special, but Phyllis Cicero absolutely ups it, and it just has such a nice charm all around, and may she rest in peace.
I miss her. I really do. Her, Robert Sweatman and Barry Pearl were like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit of this show, let's be real, in terms of human characters. What about you, Kerron?
no, I agree. I'm glad that they brought Mr. Boyd back in the Barney's world.
Yes, it's pretty much all but confirmed, but, there is someone who shows up in a musical number that does look like him, so...
It's him. They call him Grady, which is his first name that they started in the park seasons.
Oh, cool.
When was it confirmed that it's him?
It was a leak that happened like a few weeks before they released that music video
Oh my god!
where they referred to him. Yeah.
Holy shit, so did they actually they had to get Robert Sweatman's permission?
No, it's a different person because it's a Canadian production. And so for tax credits and all that, if they keep most of their crew Canadian, then they get all those tax credits. So everyone is brand new and from Canada. But it's still cool. Like, he looks exactly like him.
So going by our verdict, that's a keep the tapes for you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Randall, what about you?
I'll keep for sure.
Kerron, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Is there anything you want to plug?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for allowing me to come on and spend time with you. This was fun. Thank you for checking out like my show and stuff. If this is coming out next month, November.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so by that time we'll have a new movie out. We're releasing 2 movies for our show, Mr. K's Clubhouse. So one comes out right here in the beginning of October. The second one is a Christmas special that will be out sometime in the month of November.
And I hear you did a live show recently too.
Yeah, we did the live show back in August. We did a 2-day 4-show run of that, which is our first time on stage, which is awesome.
That's amazing. Yes.
Yeah, our Christmas special is the one that has the song that Steve White and Bob Singleton wrote for us. So keep an eye out for that special in November.
You can find me, Mission Breakout, on Discord, Letterboxd, still intermittently on Twitter. We'll be more active on my art Twitter, MuppetVision_3D, within the next month. You can find me magically changing every porridge in every store near me into waffles.
Hear me out? Porridge waffles.
All right, and as for me, you can find me on the usual spots, Tyler FG on Twitter, Tyler FG96 on Instagram. As for the show, you can find us on Twitter at channel_KRT, Channel KRT Podcast, all one word, on Instagram. And you can also find our Discord server and our Facebook group in the link tree in our Twitter bio. And if you want to help support us, we have several options. You can find us on Patreon, where we have exclusive minisodes, outtakes, and episodes of this very podcast at its earliest convenience. Or you can also find us on Ko-Fi, where we also have exclusive minisodes and outtakes, but you can buy those for $5 a pop. And of course, thank you to our patrons Paul Spicknall, Tony Goldmark, Ashley Hines, and Chris Reyna for pledging to us at the $10 level. And speaking of thank yous, thank you so much to Jacob Martin for the Barneyfied version of the KRT theme that you heard at the top of this episode. And thank you to Diego Laćamara for his editing help on this episode. Channel KRT, toodles!
But these fairy tales take me away from the harsh reality of peasant life.